CEO's wife assaulted during labor. Corporate family violence exposed. The fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital flickered as Elena Davidson clutched her swollen belly, her face contorted in pain. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, the day she would finally meet her first child. But never like this, never with fear coursing through her veins alongside the contractions. As her husband Marcus Davidson, CEO of Davidson Industries, stood frozen by the hospital entrance, making yet another business call. Elena didn't notice the woman in the blue dress approaching her with venomous eyes. What happened next would shake the foundations of one of America's most powerful corporate families and expose a truth that had been buried for decades. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Voices for more inspiring stories. Drop a comment below and let us know your thoughts. Elena Davidson had married into wealth 5 years ago. Marcus Davidson was everything society expected: handsome, successful, commanding. But behind the mansion walls and corporate galas, Elena discovered that being a CEO's wife meant living in a gilded cage. Marcus was rarely home, always consumed by board meetings, overseas deals, and the relentless pursuit of more. When Elena announced her pregnancy, she hoped it would change things. She hoped Marcus would finally prioritize family over fortune, but 9 months later nothing had changed. He was still the absent husband and she was still alone, carrying their child and the weight of her disappointment. The woman in the blue dress was Victoria Ashford, Marcus's business partner, and according to the whispers, Elena had heard at corporate events much more than that. Victoria had built her career alongside Marcus, climbing the ruthless ladder of corporate America with sharp elbows and sharper ambitions. She had never hidden her disdain for Elena, the simple art teacher who had somehow captured Marcus's attention during a charity auction. To Victoria, Elena was an obstacle, a distraction that threatened the empire they had built together. As Elena's contractions intensified, she reached out for support. But instead of a helping hand, she felt a sharp shove. Victoria had pushed her hard against the hospital corridor wall. Elena's vision blurred as pain exploded through her body, not just from labor but from the impact. She tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The baby. All she could think about was the baby. Marcus finally looked up from his phone, his eyes widening in horror as he saw his wife crumpling against the wall, Victoria standing over her with a twisted expression of satisfaction. In that moment, everything crystallized for him. The late nights Victoria had insisted were necessary. The way she touched his arm during meetings, the photographs that had been anonymously sent to his office showing Victoria entering his penthouse when Elena was away visiting her mother. He had dismissed them all as coincidences, as the price of success. But now, watching his pregnant wife in agony, he saw the truth he had been too blind or too cowardly to acknowledge. Hospital security rushed forward as Marcus caught Elena before she hit the ground. Nurses surrounded them, wheeling Elena toward the delivery room as her water broke prematurely. The chaos was overwhelming. Doctors shouting medical terms, machines beeping urgently, and through it all, Elena could hear Marcus's voice, finally present, finally there, begging her to hold on, promising her that everything would be okay. But nothing felt okay. As Elena was rushed into emergency surgery, the baby showing signs of distress, Marcus stood in the hallway facing Victoria. For the first time in their 15-year partnership, he saw her clearly. The ambition in her eyes wasn't just for success, it was for him. For a life she had constructed in her mind where Elena didn't exist. Victoria had convinced herself that she deserved Marcus, that she had earned him through years of loyalty and sacrifice to their company. In her twisted logic, removing Elena was simply another hostile takeover, another competitor eliminated. The police arrived within minutes. Hospital cameras had captured everything. Victoria's assault on a pregnant woman in active labor wasn't just a crime. It was a headline waiting to happen. As officers led her away in handcuffs, Victoria's carefully constructed facade crumbled. She screamed that she had given Marcus everything, that Elena had stolen the life that should have been hers. But her words fell on deaf ears. The corporate world that had celebrated her ruthlessness now watched, in horror as her true nature was exposed. Inside the operating room, doctors worked frantically to save both Elena and the baby. The assault had caused placental abruption, a life-threatening emergency. Marcus paced outside, his expensive suit wrinkled, his perfectly styled hair disheveled, his phone forgotten on a waiting room chair. For the first time in years, business didn't matter. Stock prices didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was behind those doors, fighting for life. 3 hours later, a doctor emerged with news. Elena had survived, weak but stable, and their daughter, though premature, was breathing on her own in the NICU. Marcus broke down, tears streaming down his face as years of suppressed emotion finally surfaced. He had spent so long building an empire that he had nearly lost his kingdom. The weeks that followed transformed Marcus Davidson. He stepped back from daily operations at Davidson Industries, appointing a new COO and restructuring his priorities. The media frenzy around Victoria's arrest and the subsequent trial exposed the toxic culture that had festered within corporate America's highest ranks, where success justified any behavior, where human relationships were treated as transactions, where violence could be rationalized as passion. Elena recovered slowly, spending precious hours with their daughter, whom they named Hope. The name felt appropriate, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, light could break through. Marcus was there for every feeding, every diaper change, every sleepless night. He had been given a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. Victoria Ashford was convicted of assault and attempted harm to an unborn child. She lost everything: her career, her freedom, her carefully curated reputation. But more than that, she lost the illusion that success could substitute for genuine human connection. In prison, she finally had time to confront the emptiness she had filled with ambition and obsession. Elena eventually returned to teaching art, finding healing in creativity and in showing her students that true strength isn't about power or wealth, but about resilience, forgiveness, and the courage to rebuild. She forgave Marcus, though trust would take time to restore. She even found it in her heart to feel pity for Victoria, recognizing that corporate culture had created monsters by rewarding ruthlessness and punishing vulnerability. The Davidson family became advocates for workplace ethics, reform and support for victims of corporate abuse. Marcus used his platform to speak about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of family. Their story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that no amount of success is worth sacrificing your humanity. As Hope grew, she would sometimes ask about the day she was born. Elena would hold her close and tell her the truth, that she came into the world during a storm. But that storms eventually pass, and what remains is what truly matters: love, family, and the strength to stand up when the world tries to knock you down. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to Timeless Voices for more powerful stories. Leave a comment below telling us what this story meant to you. Your engagement helps us continue sharing these important messages. Remember, in a world that often rewards ruthlessness, choose kindness. In a culture that celebrates power, choose love. And never let anyone, no matter how successful or influential, make you feel like you don't matter. You do. Your story matters. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply survive, heal, and choose to hope again.